Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. In this video is to bring you a closer look at the DCI part number 840. This is a top flush bolt only. Forgive me. Top or bottom. It could be either. We're going to start this with a visual tour of what we're talking about here on this bolt. This can be a top, this can be a bottom. It's a bolt, it's an automatic flush bolt, is what it is. This would not be self-latching, this would just be simply a bolt that is going to, when the door closes, secure the door when the active door closes. This is one type of flush bolt of a comprehensive offering of flush bolts from DCI. Okay, you have your cam here, so every time the active door closes, it locks. This is an 840, which means it's a single bolt. This is for a metal door installation, and this unit is seen here in the stainless steel finish. So the way that they work this from DCI, naturally other people do as well, but one thing about DCI is it's the trim package. So you could stock the material and just keep separate trim packages for finish. Stainless steel, satin chrome, polished brass, oil rub bronze, etc. And then just be able to pull out your body, your bolt, and your guide. Okay, this is not the one used for wood doors at all, even though these can be forced to work in wood doors. That is not a machining process for the faint of heart, however. You really do need some specialized tools for prepping into a wood door type scenario for a bolt that's intended for a metal door. Some people will use the metal door version on wood doors because they don't like the wood door version, because there is a somewhat, it's not a fatal flaw, there is a measurable disadvantage to them. When you prep for a wood door, it's a large corner style bolt, and the outside corner of the door, if my hands represented the mortise, the outside, absolute outside corner has a tendency to flare out a little bit, so you need to run a screw through the face of the veneer, literally, into the bolt body. So very occasionally I'll see a flush bolt installed, and I'll see that little screw right in the face of the door, and that's the telltale sign, when the door is closed at least, that you have a wood door style flush bolt. Anyway, let's move on to what this one is. Information down below this video. Single automatic flush bolt, UL listed for metal doors. Okay. This bears visual evidence of the item. This bears visual evidence that it is permitted for use on fire-rated doors. And so does the scalp plate. Scalp plate, a very thin piece of material that will go over the body. They call it a scalp plate or the face plate. That too has evidence of the UL mark or the F mark. And that's going to tell the inspector that this is appropriate, this is listed, this is labeled for use on a fire-rated door, because an inspector of a fire-rated door is going to be looking for that. Okay? Even if that wasn't the case, and an inspector isn't there to pull hardware off the door, but it is underneath as well. Okay? You'll need that. It has to be at a minimum listed, meaning it's been tested, has been found to be in compliance with the fire rating, and one for a metal door is going to certainly have a 3-hour test done to it, whereas a wood door would be an hour and a half. And be labeled. Not necessarily a requirement that it be labeled like hinges. It may be a requirement for flush bolts and door viewers and exit devices, and I believe that it is. I believe that requirement is not there when it comes to hinges. So if you have got ball bearing hinges made of a ferrous-based material or stainless steel, you don't have to have a label on those. As long as it's steel or stainless, ball bearing, you're in good shape. And commercial grade, standard or heavyweight. Non-handed with free-floating cam. This can be used on left-hand doors, right-hand doors, left-hand reverse doors, right-hand reverse doors. Okay, that cam is going to float a little bit to allow you to be able to use that in any sort of door operation. Positive high temperature latch. Yeah, I mean, everything here is made of steel. There's no doubt about that. Okay. Minimal force to activate the bolt. I don't know the pounds, but my guess is it's somewhere in the range of 3 pounds is what it would take to activate this. Well below whatever the minimum would be for a handicap compliant door closer, which is 5 pounds, right? Could be 7.5. It could be whatever is required locally, but handicap code would tell us 5 pounds. Manufactured with an override feature to prevent damage to the door or the bolt. So what that means is this. If it's used down here, something can get clogged in the strike in the floor. If it's used up here, there could be some sort of substantial misalignment between the door and the header. But if the door were to close and I were to push that in and I were to limit the bolt and not permit it to move, you'll see that it will clutch here. Otherwise it works normally. So there won't be a fatal event on the hardware itself. Engineered to function in high-frequency areas with minimum maintenance. Yeah, this is a set-it-and-forget-it piece of equipment. The only thing that can make a flush bolt not work is when you don't install the guide. Or if you improperly install the guide, that's a square. That's a square. That's not going to rotate at all as it operates. If you were to have a round bolt head and you were to have a guide that did not force it, like on a standard bolt, it'll be a D shape. Well, the guide that it goes through needs to be the same D shape to prevent that from threading, because if it's not done correctly, that will eventually unthread itself, not allowing you to operate the bolt. Engineered to function in high-frequency areas. Yep, minimum maintenance. Yeah, absolutely. Trim packages are available. It's available in different finishes. Let's go over those now. US 3 or 605 for polished brass. US 4 or 606 for satin brass. US 10B or 613 for oil rub bronze, US 26 or 625 for polished chrome, US 26D or 626 satin chrome, US 32 or 629 polished stainless, and then US 32D 630 for satin stainless steel. 8 different finishes, technically 3 different base materials. UL listed, grade 1 certified, rated up to 3 hours, and positive pressure openings as well. Let's finish the visual tour of the parts. We've got the business end of all of this, our rod. This is a 12-inch bolt. Top of the door or the bottom of the door to the center of the faceplate is how flush bolts are done. This is 12-inch. You want this to be 24-inch? Great. Order a longer rod. That's all that it is. The factory can provide this for you. If you have automatic flush bolts, you're not reaching up on an 8-foot door or a 9-foot door to flip that manually up and down, which would be somewhat uncommon, but not unheard of on fire-rated doors. Does the length from the top of the door really matter when you are never going to touch the flush bolt? Probably not. If it was me, I might opt to prep all of my doors at the same height on the flush bolts, just so I had continuity. Let's say I had a hospital and I had closets that were pairs of doors that were 8 foot tall. Those could be manual flush bolts. It's an electrical closet. That inactive door can be fire rated with a manual bolt on it. I would probably put all of them at 24-inch or maybe 18-inch, regardless, just for continuity. But other than that, I don't technically think it would matter. I would probably put it at the standard height, which in my mind for an 8-foot door would be 24-inch. That's probably what I would do. Then we have the guide that we talked about. That will get screwed to the bottom inverted channel of your door or prepped at the top of your door, your hollow metal door. You'll have to have reinforcing done by your factory in there for that. And then you're going to have your strikes and their screws. You've got your strike. That's going to be, should be 2 1/4 by 15/16, yeah. And then you have your active door strike. That's going to be inch and 3/4 wide, and 1 1/4 tall. Okay. You'll have your fasteners for all of that. Let's continue on now with reviewing the paperwork that's listed down below, the template and the catalog cut sheet. Okay, now getting down to the extended description, we're going to see product information from 2009, product information from 2018. By the time you're seeing this video, this page is likely to look different. I like to retain the old information because sometimes I find that it's nice to be able to look back in time, so to speak. So the 2009 version is nice because they give us the overall size of the faceplate, the width, okay? Give us other dimensional properties, but most importantly, what you're really looking for initially is how tall is it and how wide is it, okay? So that's there, and that's that reference, if you recall earlier, top of the door to the center line of the faceplate at 12 inch, okay? Nice overview. This will, of course, tell you that your part number, if you want to do a pair of these top and bottom, would be the 845. It'd be an 805 top, and we're doing an 840, so technically we're dealing with a bottom bolt on this. The top bolt would be a self-latching bolt up here. Okay, doesn't have to be self-latching. You can have just automatic flush bolts top and bottom if you want. Okay, full information is here. We've basically already covered that. This is the 2009 version. What does the 2018 version give us differently? A new look, but what it doesn't give us, and this is why we keep old information, it doesn't tell me the height and the width of the faceplate. Okay, that's information that should absolutely be on here, and it's just not, and it needs to be. So let's move to the template. And this document is included with your paperwork. Okay, this is a hollow metal door, so it's pretty simple and straightforward. And what I mean by that is you're not prepping this door in the field for your flush bolt. While it's certainly possible to do that, if you can cut and weld and drill and tap, you can certainly do it. I've personally done it lots of times. But in the field, you wouldn't be doing it to a fire-rated door. In a shop, if you're an authorized machiner of fire-rated material like our shop is, we can do it in our shop, prep that door for the flush bolt. So this is coming to you from the factory already prepped is what I'm actually attempting to drive at, okay? So starting at the very top of the document, and we'll just go through it, it gives you the information here about what you're dealing with. An 840 is your single bolt. An 842 will be a set of bolts, obviously. We happen to be dealing with, again, only the 840, which they are indicating as a bottom bolt. Can be used as a top bolt. That strike that's going to be here. So that's important in order to, again, you're probably not going to be contending with this, but locating the center line of the strike needs to be set on the center line of the bolt. And they're giving us the back set here at 3/4 inch. From the edge of the door to the vertical center line of the bolt is 3/4 inch. So assuming you had a pair of doors with 1/8 of an inch between the two, you're going to go to the center line of your header and then go to one side 13/16 to strike the center line of your strike prep in the header. That's how you would find that center line. Manufacturers will, of course, prep those headers for the flush bolt strike. When I would do it, I would just simply order them as reversible strike preps in the header. It's a longer plate that you can literally unscrew, turn it around 180 degrees and put it back in, and will be able to allow you to change the handing of the inactive door. This is that active door strike we talked about, and let's talk about again what that unit is for. Now, if you've kept that template open, the active door strike needs to be applied to the edge of the active door. This lip will be on the egress side, the push side, so that when the active door closes, it hits the cam. You don't want that hitting the edge of your door itself. It could certainly cause malfunction. There is a small radius on there, and that's there not only because it has to be there, but it's there to help this obviously operate correctly and to press. So you're going to want that to be installed. It very likely can cause a little bit of malfunction if you don't have it there. So be mindful to be sure that that is installed as importantly as any other aspect of this flush bolt. Now back to our template, you're going to see that that guide is referenced to up in the top of the door, and what they're showing here, page 1, what they're showing here or here is that same guide either installed in an inverted top or bottom channel, which is very common for the bottom, to have the bottom channel inverted. The top channel can certainly be inverted. It's generally flush, but it can certainly be inverted as well, very common. But again, the importance that that guide be installed is mandatory. Now, if you're ordering hollow metal doors from the factory, if you've given them the templating on how you want this prepped, what flush bolt, if you've given them this template, they ought to have the proper square preparation up there for you already. So you'll notice on the dimensions, and if we skip back to the 2019 version, that gives us the simple information of what's the size of the plate. It's actually not referred to on the template at all. It tells us what mortise to prep. And basically what they're saying is here is give it your 6 3/4 by 1, but give it a 30-second to breathe. You know, that's what the manufacturer's calling out. That's the way they've engineered and tested it. And that's the preparation to make for this material. Again, 12-inch. Other dimensions here that are important, of course, would be the 3/4 inch back set. It is nice to know where that active door strike needs to fall on the active door. It'd be 14-inch to its center line. Okay. And that covers page 1. Page 2 gets into information that doesn't necessarily apply directly at all. If you did have that latching style, you'd have a T-strike, and then your bolt is going to be a latch, and then you'll have a spring-loaded finger trigger mechanism here by which you can depress this. Down over here talks about the fire door bolt, which may come into play if you're dealing with an automatic flush bolt, meaning in certain applications, when you are permitted to install the door without a bottom flush bolt, you can install a fire bolt, which I'm not aware of any installations that would not allow you to install a bottom fire bolt in lieu of a flush bolt. Now, where you would install a bottom fire bolt is in an application where your client does not want any piece of hardware piercing into the floor. And the common application for that, of course, would be a hospital. They don't want any strikes in the floor. They don't want any holes in the floor because it's difficult to keep those clean. So bottom fire bolts will be very typical. In the mid 200 degree Fahrenheit, there's going to be a projectile, a bolt that comes firing out of here, bursting the plastic cap and securing the inactive door into the active door. And be mindful to not put anything over the edge of the door, as you will need that to operate. And that will keep the door secured, those two leaves secured together at the bottom of the door. And bottom fire bolts are very common. So page 2 doesn't directly address the hardware that we're talking about in this video, but you can see how you kind of need all the documents to really get a full picture of this, at least currently. Now, if you were to try to install this into a wood door, so if it's a fire-rated wood door, you certainly cannot do that in the field because it would exceed the preparations allowed or permitted in a fire door. So be mindful of that. But if you were to do that, I've done it hundreds of times. You could take your router and prep a 6 3/4 by 1 prep. You would then take a 18-inch long drill, and there is a drill guide that we sell that clamps onto the door, and you literally drill that hole right down through here. And experience and skill and sometimes even a little bit of luck will allow you to drill that hole straight through. And that is done and is very common. But for metal doors, this is the bolt you use. For wood doors, again, you use the other bolt. But keep in mind, you do your prep, you do your faceplate, then you do your body prep, which is going to be, somewhere in this range, 2-inch deep, whatever the height is, which they don't give anywhere on here because it's a metal door. There's no need to tell you how tall to make that prep because you're not making the prep. But anyway, you would avoid the screws and fit the body. You would just avoid the screws and get in there. You know, if the screws are here, you'd come 2-inch deep, get right back to here. And that's how it's done. I've you know, with a plunge router is how you would do that. I've done that hundreds of times, if not more, probably more than hundreds. So not a difficult prep at all once your tools are set. And that wraps this up. Let's finish up this video. So the name DCI is quite synonymous with many things trim and auxiliary hardware related. There is a link below this video to the manufacturer's page where you can pull up not only all of the DCI products that we sell, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the full product catalog. I'm partial to DCI, and it's because, well, a number of things, but first of all, they keep it simple. You know, you send them an order, and they just ship you material. And that is just how they do it, is the bottom line. Pull this material over here so we can put it back together. Make sure we've not missed showing you anything, and apparently we have not, except I will note that they give you those 2 plastic anchors, and those are for your strike. If you're going into the floor is where you'll use those. So you're going to have these combination screws, wood and machine screws. That's an 832 thread. 2 for here, except they're going to go through your faceplate. You'll have plenty of screws for your guide. You'll have 2 screws for your strike, your active door strike, your bottom or top strike, and then the screws for the guide. I had mentioned the guide comes with its own 2 screws. They're unfinished, so that's what those are there for. I'm partial to DCI. They keep it simple. Their customer service is exceptional. Their shipping, prompt, reliable, predictable shipping lead times is spot on. And if you're not familiar with them, I would very much recommend that you review their catalog, because sooner or later, in my opinion, you're going to need something that is going to take time to get, and DCI is going to have it in stock ready to ship. That happens to me all the time. I like to use, you know, their roller latches. They have very nice roller latches that you will absolutely think that you will apply any name to the roller latch. They're in stock in all of the standard finishes, ready to ship, great quality material. And the point being is that they keep hardware that should be a no-brainer, like flush bolts. They keep that kind of work a no-brainer, literally. If you have any questions on this DCI, this is their part number 840 in a US32D finish. That's satin stainless steel on a solid stainless steel base material. For any other DCI product, maybe their Panex. If you've seen specifications with the name Panex on it, that's a DCI exit device. You can get to that catalog below this video, link to their manufacturer's page, and you'll certainly see all of their exit devices, electrified hardware as well. Any questions on the 840 and 32D by DCI or any other DCI product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you.